You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for being here again. As always, refer the show to your friends, neighbors, relatives. Be sure to go give us some, the referrals there on the iTunes. Go on to iTunes and say, type out good, wonderful things for the show. I was just looking, we got a ton of those on the show. So give us a good referral on iTunes if you would, please. Also go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. See everything reading and reviewing over there. All of our groups on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, the big 122,000 LinkedIn group, our big LinkedIn newsletter. That thing's always popular. And also youtube.com/Chris Voss. Today we have an amazing author on the show with us. He is the author of the newest book that just came out May 15th, 2022. It's called The Journey of My Mother's Son. This is volume 1, Many Random Thoughts on the Road by Dan Clouser. He's going to be on the show with us today talking about what he's done, and he's written multiple books. So we're going to get some pretty good insight from him and his life and what he's put into his work. After 30 years of successfully leading a nonprofit youth sports organization in Berks County, Pennsylvania, Dan Clouser and his wife, Sandy, sold their home and all their stuff in August of 2020. They now live full-time in an RV, traveling the country with their golden retriever, Euclid. Is that pronounced right, Dan?
Euclid.
Okay. I've got the cameras are right in front of the middle part of that. Working around Dan's speaking and coaching workshop schedule, they volunteer at various locations, help others, and tell stories of their travels and those they meet through blogging, social media, and podcasting. He has dedicated his life to serving God by giving back and helping others and has no regrets. Welcome to the show, Dan. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, Chris.
Thanks for coming on, and give us your .com as your plugs so people can find you on the interwebs.
They can find me at journeymymotherson.com, or if you don't want to type that much out, danclouser.com. They both go to the same site, but I did them both just because journeymymotherson.com can be a little bit of a mouthful sometimes.
Yeah, well, definitely. So you've got the new book out. How many books do you have?
So I have 3 books out. First book was The Beauty of a Diamond Through the Eyes of a Coach, and then that came out in 2012. And I republished it last year with 10 new chapters. So it's The Beauty of a Diamond Through the Eyes of a Coach, new edition. The original version is only available used on eBay and places where you can get used books now. And that really chronicles the 30 years I spent coaching in youth sports and, really teaching life lessons through the games of baseball and softball.
Awesome. So you're also a speaker, and you also have a podcast going on. What's the podcast name?
The podcast is The Journey of My Mother's Son as well. And that's just an opportunity for me to, I started podcasting when I was with our organization, actually back in 2012, where we'd have sponsors and alumni and stuff on. And I really enjoyed it. So when we decided that we were going to sell everything and travel around the country in an RV, I wanted to keep telling stories of the people that we met. The whole concept behind The Journey of My Mother's Son is that my mom did this when she was in her mid-40s. She took an old 1967 Plymouth Valiant and kind of converted it into an RV, so to speak. She took the back seat out and put a sheet of plywood in there. And in the past, I was reading a lot of her journal and reading stories of people that she had met in her travels. And I thought, man, it would really be cool to do this in real time. Like if mom was in the social media age, how cool it would have been for her to do it in real time. So that's why I wanted to do the podcast and tell stories of people we've met through our journey and, people that we have, haven't met face to face yet, but we meet virtually and then try to, connect with them later on down the road in person.
Yeah, it looks like we had Sean Foley just jump in here. Thanks, Sean, off of LinkedIn. Say hello. Hey, now, we got some garbled audio from the internet, and I'm not sure if we got all of what you mentioned. You said your mom had converted a car to. We lost about a whole minute of audio there.
Gotcha. Yeah, she had converted an old 1967 Plymouth Valiant. She took the back seat out of it, put a sheet of plywood in there and a mattress, made it a bed, and traveled around the country. Just meeting people and volunteering and connecting with friends and family.
Awesome sauce. So you guys decided to do this. I had a nonprofit charity for a lot of years, and then was this a big decision to take and make, or was it fairly easy and you felt like it was time?
Now, it was a big decision because I loved what I was doing. I mean, I absolutely loved what I was doing. We were helping kids. One of the most rewarding things about what we're doing now is being able to reconnect with some of my old players and, having breakfast and lunch with them, or them coming out and meeting us in a campsite or something. So I really did love what I was doing. So it wasn't an easy decision. It was kind of a struggle. And then, there was a time in early 2019 where I took a couple road trips by myself, and on those road trips, it kind of hit me as to, this is why Mom did it. There's like this incredible serenity on the road. And when I got back, I wrote like I hadn't written in years. And that's when it kind of hit me that, you know what, it's time for a new chapter. I did enough at that point with the nonprofit, and it was time to open up a new chapter. But no, it was not an easy decision at all.
Yeah, and I'm sure was the wife excited to do it, or did it take some cajoling?
It definitely took some cajoling. She thought that I had lost my mind when I first ran it by her, but now she is 100% in with both feet. She loves it. The dog loves it. We truly have no regrets whatsoever.
This RV community and living in RVs and traveling in RVs and people doing this has just been growing and growing and growing. And I've seen the RV community. It's pretty amazing. So tell us about the book. What's inside the book, and what have you shared about it?
So it really is, as the title says, many random thoughts from the road. So it's really a chronicle of what we were going through the months leading up to us departing on the journey, and the first roughly 18 months of the journey, and whether it was thoughts of getting to a location, sharing those thoughts, or meeting someone, or doing a volunteer project. We do a lot of volunteer work. Really random thoughts of being on the road. While we're out here.
There you go. I think we had some breakup in the audio, but I think StreamYard will pick it up. If there's anything on your computer, you can close it down. Let's see. So it looks like you basically kind of a journal, maybe, to help people understand what goes on in setting up this RV life. Is that a good analogy?
Definitely a great analogy.
Definitely. Let's see. So and part of it is about your life too, through volunteering and serving. Talk to us about why that's important to you, volunteering and serving those in less fortunate circumstances, and maybe how you apply that to your life.
Again, I think a lot of that probably came from my mom. She was always volunteering, and my dad was also very giving as well. He was an over-the-road truck driver, so he didn't necessarily have a lot of time, but he was more than willing to always make a donation or, provide financial resources where he could. So I think just growing up, going and helping her on Meals on Wheels, or, her volunteering for an entire day at the Little League concession stand or something like that, just kind of grew on me. And, as I, went into my adult life, the nonprofit that I'd ran for the first 20 years of it was as a volunteer before I actually became, executive director and a paid staff member. So when we left, we were a little concerned as to how we would fill that void. My wife was very much involved in other jobs. She had volunteered at a local dog rescue, which is where we'd gotten our golden retriever from. And when we connected with the Year to Volunteer, it really gave us a purpose to go in and help with these projects. We'll go in for a 2-week period of time, whether it's at a state park or a nonprofit organization, and really kind of dig in and do different projects, whether it's painting or rebuilding trails or bridges or fishing piers. And to me, it's just, I think that's what we're here on earth to do, is to help and give back to others. And it's just incredibly fulfilling for me to be able to do that. And when you meet some of the people in these communities that you're helping and see how grateful they are for your help. We did a project in Lake Charles, Louisiana at a state park that had been closed since Hurricane Laura and Hurricane Delta had hit in 2020. And a lot of community groups and church groups had come in and actually fed us during that project. And again, to see how grateful they were when we came in was just absolutely incredible.
Yeah. It's what is life like in the RV?
Every day is a little different. It's it's an adjustment. We lived in a 3,500 square foot house, and now we probably have roughly 300 square feet to deal with. But it really gives you an appreciation of how much we don't need in life. Like when we were selling all our stuff off, there were times where we were just like, what did we have all this stuff for? Stuff that we hadn't seen or used in years. And even now we're actually at our one daughter's house, camped in her yard. And it's one of the places where we still have some bins of stuff, that we didn't actually sell. And my wife to downsize even more. She's like, this is stuff we hung on to that we'll never need. So let's get rid of it. So it's liberating, I think you could say. And I think you appreciate the little things in life a lot more when you're, living the RV life, and really appreciate experiences much more than things.
Most definitely. So with the RV life, there's a lot of work that goes into that, but you guys have a huge community for RV stuff, a huge community of people it's just amazing. Like there's Facebook groups, there's LinkedIn, or not LinkedIn groups, Instagram stuff. It's just extraordinary. And then there's a big community around it, correct?
Yeah. There's the full-time RV community is actually incredible. There's 1.5 million people in the US that live in an RV full-time. And when I first heard that number, it blew me away. And then when you have the weekenders and, people who may take who are retired and may take a month or a 2-month, trip across the country, it's even bigger. But it's one of the most giving communities you'll ever meet. Like I'm personally not the most handy RVer in the world, very possibly the least handy. But it's amazing that people jump in and help you out. Like we had an issue going into the one volunteer project where our water pump broke coming into the project. And, when we arrived, all I had to do is mention that, our water pump broke, and we had 3 or 4 guys who were, willing to help me and show me how to change it. Luckily, one of them had a spare water pump that, he gave me, and all I had to do is order it for him on Amazon while we were there, and it came in the next couple of days. But we literally lost no time, and they helped me and walked me through it, and didn't just do it for me, but showed me how to do it so that the next time I could do it myself. So it is an incredible community, without a doubt.
That is awesome, man. We used to have that in our housing communities where people helped each other out. My mom would send me to go, get sugar or salt next door if somebody is out. They come over too, and of course sometimes we make dinner for our neighbors, and they make dinner for us. People don't do that anymore. It's nowadays if you knock on people's door, they go hi. They're like, I don't know, man. It's really kind of weird. So it's great that there's that community out there, and I've seen that. One of the events we always do is I think it's called the Rocky Mountain Motor Show or Motorsports Motor. It's basically trailers and RVs and vans and different things, from everything from camping to long term stuff with what you're doing, and like they have these little campers that they fold out into these crazy things where they got full scale tents, and this whole rack slides out that's a full, it's got better cooking gear than I have in my kitchen. It's like it just another thing slides out and it's got sinks and washes and showers, and I've seen these van conversions that people have done where their vans literally are probably more expensive than my house or something. The stuff they put into them. You look at it and you're like, oh my god, it's like luxury opulence that people have inside of a Mercedes Sprinter van. And the RVs, of course, they go through. There's like $1 million RVs. It's like crazy, man.
Yeah, it is. We went to the Tampa RV show back in February, and it was just completely overwhelming just seeing some of the different, like you said, the amenities that some of these things have. And it really is mind blowing, the technology that they've been able to take care of nowadays.
Mm-hmm. And then what are some other things that people are going to learn from the book, The Journey of My Mother's Son? Are there some life lessons in there, some wisdom?
Oh yeah, definitely. And again, a lot of it just revolves around living in the moment. Again, collecting experiences and not things, and just understanding how fragile life is. I mean, since we've started this journey, we've lost a lot of people, and a lot of people who had big plans once they retired and that sort of thing, and then didn't make it to that day, which really kind of reiterated for us that we made the right decision.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people we talked to, I did a podcast with another full-time couple, and they'd mentioned one of the things that, really drove them to finally make the decision was just the fact that they came to the realization that today is the youngest they're ever going to be. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, well, we can do this next year or we can do it 2 years down the road, because at the end of the day, we don't know for sure that we have next year or 2 years down the road. So the book really does talk a lot about that, about living in the moment and, appreciating life for what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's an important lesson. We don't have a whole lot of time. I've been studying a lot of Stoicism lately, and memento mori, if I recall correctly on my pronunciation of it. And it talks about how, we don't know how much time we have and how the time is short and it gets shorter. You're probably about my age, where you look at life and you start realizing you're in the third or fourth quarter of the life, and you need to start, paying attention to that time, making sure you're not squandering it. We did a lot of that when we were young. I don't know about you, but I did. Did a little bit of squandering. Did the squandering stuff. Tales from Squandering is my next book coming out.
There you go.
Tales from Ice Cream. So, is there any stories you can share out of your book, or give us a little teaser or tidbit that you can share in the book that maybe was one of your favorite stories?
I think I start off pretty early in the book when I talk about every journey begins with the first step. And that was really, again, once I decided that we were going to do this, and then finally put the house on the market. And, that was really the first step. And that was, again, every step leading up to this, it was, overcoming that fear. So it was like, okay, now the house is on the market. So now this is really going to happen. And then shortly after we put the house in the market, then COVID hits. And, we were literally sitting in the RV dealership the day that the governor of Pennsylvania was issuing shutdown orders for the state. And that wasn't part of the plan. It wasn't part of the plan to have a mortgage payment and an RV payment at the same time. It was, sell the house, buy the RV. But we had a really good opportunity on a leftover 2019 model that we wanted to take advantage of. So we're, in the process of taking the house off the market till things settled down a little bit with COVID, and buying the RV with a complete uncertainty as to whether or not and our move, but how long that was going to last. Was this going to be, could we depend on this, or was she going to get a call in a week saying, hey, remote work is dried up, it can't, we've changed direction, sort of thing. So that's one chapter where I really talk about the courage to kind of continue on even when it might not have made sense to continue on.
Yeah. So it actually probably happened in reverse, where actually remote work kind of amplified, didn't it?
Yeah, and we've met a lot of people now, who are not retired, so to speak, and they do have full-time remote jobs living in an RV. So for anybody out there listening who's kind of like teetering back and forth as to can I do this? Can I do this? Do I need to wait till I retire? The answer is you can do it now, because there are so many opportunities for remote work out there nowadays, that the opportunities are really endless. The biggest challenge, as we've experienced through this this podcast right now, is getting great internet. So I'm working off a hotspot, so we end up getting some interruptions there. But that's the biggest challenge. Just making sure I have good internet. From what I understand, and this isn't a promo in any way because we don't have it, but I understand the Starlink internet satellite is a game changer for full-time RVers. It's probably something soon.
Yeah, I guess people are doing that, and it's getting better and better. That's the Elon Musk system, right?
Yes. We have a couple friends who do it, who swear by it, and they do a lot of YouTube stuff and that sort of thing. So they're doing a lot of downloads. So we'll see. That might be the next chapter for us.
Yeah, that sounds like it might work out really well. Internet, that's the biggest thing for me. I can work anywhere in the world as long as I have internet. But if I don't have internet, we have problems.
Yeah.
So you gotta have internet. I've got to be able to do the podcast, and then everything I do is on the internet, my email and everything. And I can afford to be out. When I've done events or traveling, there are times where I'm off the grid or I'm asleep sometimes. That you gotta sleep for 8 hours. And, then you wake up and you got all these people on email going, "Where are you?" And I'm like, people do sleep in the middle of the night. When you have international clients, they're like, "What are you doing?" And you're like, it's sleep. We're sleeping here in the U.S.
Right.
Kind of, we do that every now and then. I know it seems like it's antithetical to what we should do in America, but what do I know? But yeah, it's pretty interesting that way, and how that whole thing works. Anything more you want to tease on in the book?
Again, it's the number of people that I know personally who've read it have enjoyed it. I think it really is an insight into how to live your life different than the social norms that have been established for us. And really understanding that you don't have to wake up and go to a 9 to 5, and I think this whole realm of what you and I are in today, being able to do things virtually and podcasting and all that stuff has just opened up a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities that tell you don't have to go to the office every day, and you can go out and you can live your best life. What we've seen so far in this country is just mind-blowing, and we've only scratched the surface. I mean, we've been to 39 states so far. And most of those we didn't spend enough time in. We're like, well, we got to go back and see this, this, and this. So the bucket list keeps getting longer. But man, there's just so many beautiful things, and incredible people. I want to stress that there are, let's face it, our country is a mess right now. But if you look for awesome people, you will find them. And that's one thing this journey has proven to us. We've met just so many incredible people from incredibly diverse backgrounds and differing political opinions. But at the end of the day, they're great human beings. And I think that's something that we need to, look for and concentrate on more as a society than what we do today.
Yeah, I mean, community, it's interesting how you have to leave a suburban community, a subdivision community, to find community on the road. Isn't that interesting?
It is, because we were very involved in our community at home. Both Andy and I were very involved. And yet we never felt like belonged as much as we do now. We were always in chamber networking events, because of my position with the nonprofit and stuff like that. But this community, we absolutely feel like we belong to. It's incredible stuff to put it into words and really experience it yourself.
There you go. Has the wife finally learned to love it?
She loves it as much as, if not more than what I do. She really does.
There you go. Well, that's everyone comes around. Change sometimes is hard for everybody, and this is a significant life change, especially when you've lived your whole life in a house. But I know so many people love the freedom of it. They love going places. One of my plans. Our plans. I always speak in my businesses it's like, where you call my office and we're the international headquarters of the Chris Voss Show, and they're like, how many people work there? But I just learned that a long time ago. You do that business, it's always we. Of course, I think for 20 years I had a business partner. 13 years I had a business partner, so I just have a we brain. But thankfully I don't anymore. But one of my biggest plans, my dogs are kind of an we. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm insane. But one of the plans is to travel around, and when I go to events or when I speak, I travel around, and I wanted to stop at some of these different, you're welcome to steal this idea. I would stop at different, those towns that used to be the freeway towns, where everything would go through the town, but then the freeways came and circumvented the town, and now they've kind of become these little ghost towns. And so my idea is when I go to events or speaking, like CES show or CDS show or different shows, on the way there, I take my time and I stop at some of these places and maybe go into some of the, those wonderful little greasy spoon diners that are around forever, and talk to people, and maybe interview some people on the podcast. Like, why do you still live here? And what motivates you? And what's life like here? And kind of get a piece of the old, American Main Street. And so that was kind of one of the ideas that I had planned. And to me, I think it's more interesting. I haven't been able to see so much of the world as I wanted, and go visit things and then take your time. Like, I hate racing to events. It's like, get on a plane, race, fly to South by Southwest, paying 4 days on, get on a plane, get the hell out of town, all that stuff. I'm like, I would really like to be able to drive somewhere and take, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days to drive there, stop and see stuff, take a nap whenever I want. And then, cause they don't like that when I, undress on the plane, take my shirt off and curl up in a blanket on the floor. Evidently that's against the rules. And then take my time on the way back where I don't have to hurry. And then also, you're not paying for hotels, and, cost effective wise, I figured out between hotels and flights and putting my dogs in daycares and stuff. It's extraordinary what I spend. And I'm like, geez, I could buy an RV, have paid off in a year. Not sooner. Yeah. Well, this has been pretty insightful.
Okay.
This has been pretty insightful,
Good.
Dan. Good.
I hope that you do decide to do the Sprinter van thing or an RV thing at some point, because it is great. And the taking your time is really the part that sold me. You know, when I took those trips in 2019, it was the first time in my life where I took my time, because we traveled as an organization, and it was just like you. I mean, we're traveling places with, 50, 60, 100 kids in tow at times. So it was always a very regimented schedule as far as, we've got to be at this place at a certain time, and we have, an hour for the kids to eat and get back on the bus. And that's what sold me, was being able to take our time. And we do travel interstates, but when you get off on those secondary roads, like you were talking about, that's when it is most enjoyable. Because the things we've found, the most rewarding are the things we did not plan at all, where we're on, some secondary, US something highway in the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden, here's this barbecue joint, like you said, the little hole in the wall, and they got parking for the RV. So we roll in there, and there's, 14 seats total in this place, and just the best food and people you'll ever meet. So that is by far the most attractive thing about this journey, is being able to take your time and do exactly what you were just talking about.
What people might say, the real America, the heartland of America. There you go.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, this has been pretty insightful to have you on, Dan, and thankfully our internet held up through most of it. Give us your .com so that people can find you on the interwebs. Absolutely. It's, again, danclouser.com or journeyofmymotherson.com. They both are the same place. There's blogs on there. There's a speaking page if anybody's interested in having me come out and speak to an event. And, everything you need to know about my book, everything you need to know there. There you go. Be sure to pick up the book, guys. It's available on Amazon, wherever fine books are sold. The Journey of My Mother's Son, Volume 1, Many Random Thoughts from the Road by Dan Clouser. Dan, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot, Chris, for being here. There you go. And thanks, Mounties, for tuning in. Be sure to go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, and all of our groups on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, all those crazy places the kids are playing. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys next time.